Hi everybody, Søren here from Burning Bridges. I'm back again, this time with a US champion, Keith Gilmour. We're going to try and dive into the US Masters. A lot of people have heard about it and not very many outside the US community know what it's all about and how you get to play in it. So welcome Keith.
Yeah, thanks, Soren.
I'm glad to have you here. So first of all, can you tell us a little about yourself? How
Sure.
long have you played Flames of War? Do you play other things? Stuff like
Yeah,
that.
so I am originally from Northern Ireland, but I live here in the US now for the last 20 years or so. I started gaming back, gosh, 35-ish years ago, like a long, long time. Um, Went through the usual gateway of Warhammer to get into the hobby. And around about 2010, I was getting a little jaded with the direction of 40K at that point, and
Yeah.
was looking for something else. And a friend introduced me to Flames of War, and I really haven't looked back.
No.
It's 99% of the games I play now are Flames of War, and I really enjoy it.
Okay. Cool. I can see on the shelf behind you that you're used to winning as well. So we
Yeah,
I
I've
invited you because you won U.S. Masters this year. Is it
yeah.
your first time winning or have you done
No,
it
it's my
before?
second for Flames of War U.S. Masters, and I also have a Team Yankee Masters as well. So
Well, okay. So you do know what you're talking about when it's Flames of War. Okay.
I know a little bit, yes.
Yeah. So this year, how did you qualify to, or maybe start with, what is US Masters?
So U.S. Masters is a tournament that's run once a year. It's an invitational tournament, so to attend you have to be invited. The way it works is the each of the winners of the national tournaments. So here in the U.S. there are four national tournaments: East Coast, West Coast, Southern, and Midwest. And the four winners get an invite plus the winner of last year's Masters. So that's the
Okay.
first five players.
Yeah.
And then they go to the rankings, the official rankings, which is stored on battlerankings.com. And they pick the top players until they fill up the 18-person roster for the tournament.
Okay. So how do you get on the battlefield rankings? Is it enough to have your little six-man local community and win that, and you're off to the US Masters?
So it's for a tournament to be uploaded to the battle ranking site, it needs to have at least six players, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a number of points awarded for each tournament based on your position that you finished, the number of players, and the number of games in the
Yeah.
tournament. Plus, there's a bonus 10 points if it's a Battlefront run tournament. So the national tournaments
Okay. Yeah.
get you a little bit extra. Then at the end of the year, your top four scores are counted
Okay.
towards your rankings, and that's how you get placed.
Okay. Cool. So the bigger the tournament, the more points you're going to get.
Correct.
So if nobody else plays, you can qualify by playing a six-player tournament and winning that. But it's
Yeah.
better to win a 40-player West Coast
It,
Nationals or
yeah,
come second.
15th
Yeah,
place at a 50-person tournament is worth as much as first place at a six-person
yeah,
tournament. So
yeah. Okay, so that's how we do it. So how did you qualify this year?
this year my four tournaments. Let's see, I wrote it
Is
down
that
here.
that's your fourth time? You've been away. You tried it four times and won twice.
Oh,
Well done.
I've been to Flames of War Masters since 2017 was my first one I went to, and I've
Yeah.
been to
Oh,
every one that's been run since. So
okay. So
I with the COVID years, I'm not sure if that's six or seven,
no.
but something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but for this past year, I was in 11 tournaments that
Yeah.
counted towards rankings. Eight of them were just local tournaments that we run here in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
We have a really active scene here. We run a Flames of War tournament every month and a Team Yankee tournament every month.
Every month. Yeah.
And so we get a lot of games in, a lot of
Yeah.
tournaments. It's great. And then I went to four tournaments where I traveled. That was Masters last year,
Yeah.
um, the Midwest Nationals, and the LVO nationals tournament.
Yeah, that's the West Coast one,
Yes,
right?
that's the
Yeah.
West Coast.
Yeah. Okay. So that's that. Those are the ones that you placed highest, so got the most points. So they're the ones being used. Or what?
So looking at it, the two national tournaments were used, and two of the local tournaments that I won
Okay.
here.
Cool. Nice. So you got invited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was 12th in the rankings this year, and so I was able to get in from that. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, from the invitation for that. So of all the tournaments you played, are all of them just the normal tournaments, standard one versus one, and just an open tournament? You just bring your 100 points list and play, or did some of
so
them,
the
Wolf Creek is different, right?
Yeah,
Does that
Wolf Creek
count?
is different. I didn't go to that one, but
Oh,
we kind of vary the points total and the rules that we have just to try to keep it fresh. Sometimes mid
yeah,
war, sometimes late war, higher, lower points totals. I think our most fun tournament we do every year is we call it our White Elephant tournament, like a
yeah.
White Elephant gift exchange at Christmas, where you
Oh,
show up and the armies are randomly assigned to the players for each round.
okay.
So
Oh,
you make
that's
an
interesting.
army.
Yeah.
You try not to make it too good because you'll probably face it, and then it's randomly assigned to all the players. That's definitely the most fun one
Okay,
that
that's
we
a
have.
fun one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you keep the same army for all of the tournament? Oh,
Nope.
so you for each round you'll get a new one.
Correct.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's our Toys for Tots event, the charity event we do every
Yeah.
year at Christmas
Yeah.
time, and everyone just has a blast.
Oh,
Um,
that sounds fun. I, I have to remember that one and try that. That sounds fun.
yeah.
So, when you go to the US Masters, um, there's always something different, right? Because it's not just a normal tournament you go to.
Correct.
Who is it that makes the rules? Is it one person that makes it every year, the same person, or is it divided?
So Joe Lewis runs the battle rankings, and he coordinates these Masters events.
Yeah.
Most of them he makes the rules, or he coordinates with the person. If he's not running it, he coordinates with the person that is running it to come up with a good twist.
Okay.
If everybody's a high level Masters player, they always try to throw something at us that just makes things crazy nuts, makes a game played differently.
Okay. So
And
can you give me an example? What was it
sure,
last year and what was it this year?
yeah. So last year the tournament was themed to happen over one 24-hour period. So the first game was daylight, the second game was dusk, then the middle two games were nighttime, then the fifth game was dawn, and then the sixth game was daylight.
All
Um,
right.
and so that throws a real uh, wrench in the works. It's completely different playing games at night,
Yeah.
especially if there's not going to be any daylight at all in the game.
Yeah.
And so the army design was very different than what you would normally see at any open tournament.
Oh.
For this year, the twist was that your opponent gets to pick your stance. So
Yay.
every stance had to be used twice during the tournament, and your opponent, you showed up, you got to make one 75-point army list, and then two 25-point army lists that you could choose from. So it let you
Yeah.
tailor your force a little bit to the stance that was chosen. So you show up, you show your opponent all three of the lists, the 75-point and the two choices.
Yeah.
Then they pick your stance. Then you choose which one of your 25-point options, and then you roll for a mission. Um,
Okay. That sounds very interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
it really was. The twist is only revealed to the players about 6 weeks before the tournament.
Okay. Yeah.
So
So you're not playing 1,000 games trying to figure out
correct.
how it works. You have to come up with something and then do some test games and then see
Yes.
if you're satisfied. Okay. So for this year, what did you bring? Now, what did you have in your 75-point list?
So I brought a US Lee company. In my 75-point list, I had an HQ of a long barrel Lee. I had three long barrel Lees in the unit, four short barrel Lees, and then the usual T-30s and armored mortars and
Yeah,
recon
yeah.
platoon that go with it.
Just yeah.
Um, then I had four M10s and a lucky card.
Okay. So no infantry at all in the basic pack.
No.
Okay. Okay. So what was the thinking about that? Because normally I would say if you had to play defend in at least two of your games, infantry might be nice.
Yeah, and that's where the 25-point options came in.
Yeah.
So one of my 25-point options was all infantry. It was
Okay. So
an armored
just
rifle platoon and a rifle platoon, along with a Arsenal of Democracy card, which for the US lets you reroll your reserves once. So that was one option, and then the other option was five long barrel lees was also
okay. So
25.
so just more lees.
Just
Yeah.
more lees, right? If
Yeah.
8 lees is good, 13
Yeah.
lees is better, right?
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good. So why?
And so
What? Yeah.
I only came up with that split after practice games. You think you come up with an idea. My initial plan was to have all my lees in the base list, and then my two options would be either Shermans or M10s,
Yeah.
depending on if there were heavy tanks or not
Yeah.
in on the opposition list. But after I played a couple of times and I learned that if I have to defend and I get deep reserves,
Yeah.
that's not good.
You're screwed. Yeah.
And so then I had to switch out and go with the infantry as one of my choices, just
Yeah.
in case I got that potential for a deep reserves mission.
Yeah. But still, if you play 100-point games and you have 25 infantry, and then you can only have one. Well, you can of course have your mortars and T30s, right?
Yeah,
But that's still not 60 points. 60%.
it was close. Um, yeah, it was a little bit of a.
Okay, so it
It would
wasn't
have
too
been a
bad.
struggle.
Yeah.
But I went into the weekend. My intention, my goal with all my matchups was to never play the infantry. That's
Okay.
what I wanted to do. I wanted to go in and I wanted to manipulate the matchups and the stances as much as possible to try and only have the tanks on the table.
Okay.
Because 13 Lees plus 4 M10s is a lot of medium armor, and it's
Yeah.
very hard, especially in mid-war. It's very hard to deal with. So
Yeah. So what was the reason behind bringing the lease? Like, you're not forced to bring in US. You could have picked any kind of force for the Masters, right? So
yeah,
why not Soviet KVs or
there were a couple of things. One, it's what I had painted.
yeah?
That's
That's
number
always
one. I had been playing U.S. Lees in Midwar for a while. I brought them to the 2023 ETC tournament,
yeah. Okay.
and so I had a lot of practice with them from then. And then the other thing is they fit really nicely into the 75-25 split.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah. So
so that's why I liked it. It's got all the tools. You've got typical American cheap artillery and smoke that's really good.
yeah.
With the long barrel Lee's AT-10 is mostly enough in mid-war
In mid-war, yeah.
um, to deal with almost everything. And the 37, the little AT-7 gun, people forget about it, but that's really useful too. So I really like the Lee as a tank in mid-war. I think where mid-war is, it's pointed very well, and it's very effective. And I know that's a whole
Okay,
nother
we're gonna cut
discussion.
that out. We're gonna cut that out. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so it's very efficient for the points. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
saying from the U.S. Masters winner, that means it's maybe a little too cheap, right?
I mean, I don't think it needed another cut in the most recent dynamic
No,
points. I
no,
was very
no.
surprised
Price that
um,
but
that
they
that
only
happened.
cut what 1 point,
One
right?
point for a unit of
For
4, 2 points for a unit of 5.
yeah, okay, yeah,
And then they
yeah.
also cut M10s by 2 points as well, which
Yeah, so
surprising,
it's
but
okay. So
okay.
your list would have been like what 4 or 5 points cheaper.
I could have gotten one more Lee in there
Okay.
based on the nearest dynamic points.
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah, that's always nice. More tanks is always better.
More tanks is better than less tanks.
Yeah. Okay. So can you tell us a little about your games? Do you remember them, or is it just one big
Oh
blur?
yeah, yeah. I can. I made notes even.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So my first game, I was playing Robert Slaughter. He's somebody that I'd seen at a few events, but I'd never actually played him before. So
Okay.
it's always great to play with somebody new.
Yeah,
Um,
that's funny.
yeah, he had a grenadier list, so German grenadiers with some 88s, Pack 40s, and an elephant in support.
Okay.
Um, Walking up to the table, I was a little worried. The table was one half of the table was 80% covered by one large woods.
Oh,
And if you know anything about Lees, their Achilles heel is their 4-up cross check. And so infantry with AT guns in the woods, that's like the
yeah.
worst case scenario for the Lees. So whenever I saw that, I decided I had to choose. I didn't want to choose defend because he could pick and set up objectives in that forest, and there's no way I would be able to get him out of it very
Yeah.
easily. And so I chose maneuver. I figured the missions, there's a lot more moving around, options for where objectives go,
Yeah.
and things like that.
And
In
and
the
and
end,
and for our listeners, remember this is picking maneuver for your opponent.
correct. Yes, I
Yeah.
chose maneuver for Robert.
Yeah.
He chose attack for me
Oh,
because he wanted me to attack into
it's
the
like his
trees.
defend. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so with maneuver, attack maneuver, we ended up with Valley of Death,
Yeah.
which unfortunately meant the objectives were in the middle of the trees.
Oh, yeah.
And
Cause he
then,
gets to pick. Yeah.
yeah, so he got to pick that side. The objectives were in the trees. I got one right at the very back edge.
Mm,
Excuse me.
yeah. So
And
Valley of
then
Death is the one where you attack. Yeah, well, attack down the middle, but he's on both sides of
he's
the.
on both
Yeah.
sides. So
Yeah.
if you picture the forest covered the entire half of his table, except
Yeah.
for roughly his deployment zone down the sides.
Yeah. Okay.
And so he got to set up one unit of AT guns on one side and one unit of AT guns on the other. So I had to just charge.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
So I was able to use smoke to cover for one turn, and then I got enough tanks, Lees and M10s close to the Pack 40s that I thought I could take them out with direct fire.
Yeah.
Um, Turns out it's really hard to kill Pack 40s with direct fire.
Yeah.
Um, and then he rolled up his reserves. He got his elephant on that side, came in right behind him. So it was touch and go for a little bit.
Yeah.
He wiped out the first 5 tanks that I sent up there, but my reserves came in. I was able to knock out the guns slowly with my artillery, and I pushed my M10s through the forest and got side shots on his elephant.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and so once those were gone, it was a matter of cleaning up the infantry. He had 2 units of infantry to cover both objectives. Um, in the end, my mortars, which were at the back, they had nothing they could see, so they drove up the road in the middle of the forest, and they took the objective in there while all the tanks kept the infantry busy on the other one. So
Okay. So
yeah, it was a fun game.
that was a fun game. Yeah, with a twist of the forest covering everything. Like normally you see little dots of forest everywhere, not just one big lump.
Yeah.
So okay, so that was game one,
Yep.
and and then you used one of your attack stances. So
Yep.
what
One of my
what
attacks
happened?
was gone. So my next game was against Tyson Swigert. He had a Panzer Grenadier formation. So 2 units of infantry, 3 Pack 40s, some Stummels, some Martyrs, and some T-34s. And so he had plenty of anti-tank.
Yeah.
Um, and I chose defend for him because I figured that he was probably going to choose defend for me. And we ended up with encounter
Okay,
as the
so it
mission.
worked. So the defend getting a meeting engagement, so you could pick your tanks.
Exactly.
Again, take notes. He's outsmarting. Yes, this is good.
Yeah. So encounter, I started with 8 tanks off the table, 8 Lees, and he had his T-34s and mortars off the table. So the opportunity was there for a quick attack if I could get in before his reserves came in. I figured I might be able to push him off the objective. So I spearheaded up to a hill just outside his deployment zone. I set up with the 5 tanks that I had on the table, and the M10s covering from the other side. I got first turn. I moved my tanks up. I had 16 shots at his stummels, hitting on 5s, between the Lees and the M10s, and I bailed 1 stummel.
These are the stuff of nightmares. That's what they are.
Yeah, they really are. So 16 shots hitting on 5s, bailed 1, and I thought, uh-oh, this is it. We're in trouble now. So his turn, he wiped out the 4 Lees in the unit that was there between his Pack 40s and his stummels. And I was left on that half of the table. I had just my HQ, my mortars, and my scout platoon. And if he had taken the initiative and pushed forward at that point, I would have been in big trouble. But lucky for me, he decided to wait for his reserves.
Yeah.
But by that time, I had my reserves, and I was able to pick off in probably 3 turns. My M10s and Lees took care of his T-34s that came on one side. And on the other side, I had the unit of 5 Lees with the HQ come in, and they assaulted his infantry off the objective, and took the game on that side. So, yeah, it was touch and go for a while. There was an early chance for a fast win, and then I was really scared, but luckily it all worked out in the end.
So that's the good games where it's succeeded in the end.
You never can tell with Flames of War. It goes up and down and back and forth and round and round.
So just keep your nose in the track, and because it's gonna work out some of the time. Okay, so you play 3 games a day, right?
Correct.
It's a weekend with 6 games. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So at this time, were you top dog? Were you leading the pack, or?
I was somewhere in the middle. I had 2 wins, but they were both with 6 points. I had lost enough units each time to make it a 6-3, and there were a couple of people that had 8-1 wins and 7-2s, and so I was somewhere in the middle of the pack.
Okay. So final game of day 1. What did you face now?
So I faced Vince Arroyo.
Yeah. Friend of the show.
Friend of the show. So he had a list that was U.S. Rangers, which is a very interesting choice that I'd never seen on the table before.
No, he's good at making interesting lists.
Yes, he is. So he had the Rangers, so 2 units of Rangers with some mortars, and then an M10 company. He had, I think, 10 M10s altogether, and some priests and mortars. So I picked, I think I picked defend for Vince, and he picked maneuver for me, and we ended up with breakthrough.
Yep.
And so I was attacking a breakthrough. He set up in the middle of the table to try and block that one objective. I set my scout platoon as my flanking attack.
Yeah.
And started with all the tanks, so 13 Lees and 4 M10s on the table, along with the artillery.
Okay, so what's your plan there? Because the scout platoon is not going to take the back objective, is it?
No, it's not. Oh. Well, you wouldn't think it would.
Cliffhanger.
Yeah, but the goal there was to make him put something more valuable over on that side. And so he put an infantry platoon. He had a glider platoon as well. So he put a glider platoon over there to support that. And so that was a good trade for me, I think, tying up a big expensive platoon with a scout platoon.
For your 4-point scout.
Yeah, exactly. So I set up to start. I moved everything forward into a big field that was conveniently there. Except for my M10s, which went off to the side a little bit. He popped his ambush and got reserves on the first turn of
Oh,
M10s.
yeah.
And so he took out my M10s turn one, which was unfortunate. But with my Lees, then I just pushed forward as close as I could to the M10s in the open. I smoked the other ones and took care of the M10s, the one unit, and then the next unit came on in the same place, and I took care of those,
Yeah.
and kept the other ones busy until I could bring all my tanks back over. Meanwhile, my artillery was taking his infantry piece by piece. Um, and so by the time the M10s were gone, my scouts came in, looked at that infantry unit, and said, "No, we're not going to fight those," and moved towards the center objective as well, just
Oh,
to
yeah,
join up
just
with
to,
the tanks.
yeah.
And we ended up with a great showdown in the middle with all my Lees in the field versus a unit of Rangers in a building. Um, at that point, he brought his glider troops over to help,
Yeah.
and I machine gunned them in one turn with all the Lees. And then the scout platoon was able to go back to their original mission and take the back
Ah,
objective. So,
so it ended up with scouts winning the game.
yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah. So scouts are the most important forces in in
That's
your
it.
list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they stuck to the mission.
Yeah. Okay. So 3 games, 3 wins. You you must have been happy about that.
Oh yeah, I was very very happy. The it proved what I knew about the Lees, which is they're very hard to deal with. Especially in the format that we had, there weren't a lot of heavy tanks there because you had to either fit it into your 75 points
Yeah.
or it's very hard to fit bigger tanks into a 25 point um,
Yes.
chunk. And so I knew I wasn't going to face too many of those. And I think there was one unit of KVs and one unit of IS 85s there
Yeah.
um, for the whole tournament. So yeah, it went almost exactly as planned on day one. It would have been nice to get a few eights, but 6 points per win will get you there eventually.
Yeah. Just take along. Okay.
Yep.
So what do you do? So now it's over. You got play 3 games. Are everybody completely trashed and just you just grab a hamburger and go to bed and try to wake up fresh next
Well,
morning?
so typically we all go to dinner together on the Saturday evening, and hang out. So we all went to dinner at a place, had some beers, had some fun, and then yeah, try to sleep, ready
Okay.
for refresh the
Ready
next day
for
for
the
three more
next
games.
day. Yeah. I forgot to ask you, where was it held this year? Because it's not
This
always
year,
the same place.
no. This year in Atlanta. Um,
Okay.
so it was my first time in Atlanta, and at the game store. It was really a very good venue and a good place to go play and hang out. For a few years,
Technical issues.
okay.
Okay. Morten, you need to cut this out. Okay, we'll go back because I lost sound because my phone took over.
Oh no.
Okay, we were in Atlanta and then you dropped out.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so
So yeah, it was held in Atlanta. They try to move it around different cities each year. During COVID and the few years after that, it was held in Indianapolis for a few years in a row, but now it's started traveling again. We hosted the Team Yankee Masters back in June here in Minneapolis, which
yeah,
was fun. And now we travel to Atlanta, and so it's really good to go play in different parts of the country, meet different communities that are there. Um, we try to run always a side tournament
yeah,
alongside of it.
yeah,
So you've got the Masters tournament going on, and then another smaller tournament for the local community
for the
or
local,
other
yeah,
players who want to
yeah,
travel.
yeah,
And so it's really good to just meet the local players and learn more about what they've got going on, and yeah, more games is always good.
yeah, always good. Nice. So Sunday, time for the big
Sunday.
showdown. Yeah,
Yeah, Sunday. So the matchups are out, and I'm playing against Chris Jackson on the first game of Sunday. So he had a Fallschirmjäger list, Really, so the one he selected of his two choices, he had two very small formations. So a formation of Fallschirmjägers that had two units and some mortars,
Yeah.
and then a formation of German captured T-34s, which was an HQ and then two units of T-34s.
Yeah.
And then he backed that up with an elephant, which was not great for my force to see on the table, but I chose defend for him. He chose attack for me, and so we ended up with no retreat.
So that's two of your attacks gone.
That would be my second attack gone. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The first day I did one of each stance:
Yeah.
attack, maneuver, defend, and I had all three left on the second day. So we rolled up no retreat. He chose a deployment zone with a really convenient hill right in the middle of it. The
Elephant
perfect
Hill,
spot
maybe.
for an ambush, you know. So he put one objective right at the back in one corner. I put the other one right at the front in the other. He put minefields in front of that one. You know, we've
Yeah.
all seen that before, right?
Yeah.
So he put one infantry platoon right behind the minefields, and he deployed the other one right up at the edge of the other side of his deployment zone, with the hill in the middle and some T-34s in ambush.
Yeah.
So I set everything up and did the only thing that I could, which was dash full speed right up the middle, straight towards the hill.
Yeah.
So first turn, I had very little shooting. He only had his HQ for the T-34s were on the hill. I shot it a bunch of times, needing sixes and sevens because of stabilizers, and maybe I bailed it out. I don't remember, but his turn. Of course, he rolls reserves first turn. The elephant comes in.
Of course.
Yeah. He deploys his three T-34 ambush on the hill with his HQ. And he shoots and he kills, I think, one Lee and an M10 and bails a couple out. So next turn, I'm in pretty good shape. I get my tanks. One of them stayed bailed out the whole game, which was annoying. But I get most of my tanks back in, and I moved up to the hill, and I shot, and I killed the unit of T-34s, and again bailed out his HQ. And I put some smoke down to cover the elephant, so it would have to move.
So move another round before shooting.
Yeah. So next round he got the elephant onto the hill, and I was able to move to the side of his the Panzer III for his T-34 HQ, and I killed it. He failed the 3+ to hop to the other unit that got from reserves, and then his T-34s were gone.
Broken.
The formation was broken.
Yeah.
I also managed to blitz my M10s and get two of them onto the side of his elephant.
Of an elephant?
And so in that one turn, he lost all his T-34s and his elephant.
Oof. That's
And
not
so,
well, it's a good round for you. I'm not sure Chris was smiling, was he?
No, he definitely was not smiling for that one.
No.
But the Fallschirmjäger platoons, they had the little recoilless rifles in there.
The LG40s.
Yeah, those things are actually pretty scary for tanks.
Yeah, they're nasty.
Yeah, 2 shots, 3-up firepower, 89. Yeah, I didn't like those. But yeah, once all of his mobile AT, his tanks were gone. Yeah, I was able to get past him and onto the objective, and that was it. I lost 2 platoons in that game, the unit of 3 Lees, and I think the M10s in the end. So it was a 7-2 finish to that one.
But another win.
Yeah. Another win.
Yeah.
Another win. So at this point, I think I was close to the top now, or at the top. And game 5 was against my good friend John Cederberg.
Oh yeah.
So John is a local player here in Minneapolis. I had practiced lots of games against him all year before ETC, and then again once Masters came out. We had a couple of practice days that we played a bunch of games, and we helped optimize each other's lists.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we were drawn against each other. We picked stances. We both picked defend for each other, and we ended up with free for all. John's list was Panzer Grenadier formation, so he had 3 units of Panzer Grenadiers, Stummels, Martyrs, Pack 40s, and an Allied Hungarian infantry platoon.
Oh,
So
interesting.
John really likes his infantry. I really like my tanks. Our lists were kind of the opposite of each other in
Yeah.
a way. Um, but yeah, we had a really good game. Very tense, very well played. There were no mistakes that game. We were on top of
You're
it, on top of each other, making sure that we did things right. But I was able to overload one flank with most of my lees and go forward behind smoke in the first turn, then take out his stummels while smoking his martyrs in the second turn. And then the third turn, um, he did pass the blitz to get out past the smoke and take some shots and killed a couple. But then I had enough leads to take the martyrs out, and then
yeah.
it was just a matter of time on that objective to get the infantry off of it. The
Yeah.
artillery helped. The lees took about 4 or 5 assaults to do it. When you're assaulting, hitting on a 5 up, it
Yeah,
doesn't work very
you don't
well.
kill that many. It's
No,
easier to push people off and then machine gun them. You won't kill
yes,
many in assault with the US lease. Yeah,
exactly.
but
But
but in
on the other flank, John, being John, he attacked on that side with a unit of Panzer Grenadiers and the Hungarian infantry, and it was overwatched by the Pack 40s. And so it was quite open on that side. A lot of place to hide. So it was kind of touch and go right down. It came to right down to the very end. I had 3 M10s and a scout platoon on that side against Pack 40s and 2 units of infantry. Um, Whenever I finally was able to push him off on the other side. So it really could have gone either
it could
way.
have gone either way.
Another turn or two, who knows? If I hadn't been able to clean up the infantry on that one side, I was definitely sweating it a little bit on the other side. So
So did you manage to kill the infantry or did you just push them off?
I a mix of both. Actually, the artillery did a pretty good job before the tanks got there.
Yeah.
And then I was assaulting with, I had the unit of 5 tanks with the HQ. So I was
Yeah.
sending
So
6 tanks in each
yeah.
turn and killing 1 or 2 teams. And then either he would break off or I would fail my counterattack.
Yeah.
And then we'd set up again next turn, 6 more tanks go in. Um, but he had some teams in forests, but I was able to place the objective more than 4 inches away
Okay. So
from the trees. Again, because trees are Lee's worst nightmare, um, especially if there's infantry in there.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, after gosh, it must have been maybe 5 assaults in the end, 5 turns of assaulting to push him off.
Okay. But just in time.
Just in time. Yep. And that the result of that game was an 8-1. I lost 1 unit of Lee's um, in it, so that catapulted me well out in front. And I knew entering the last game of the tournament, all I needed was 3 points
Okay.
to so
So
that I couldn't be caught, to make it so I couldn't be caught. So um, uh, the last game was against Andrew Hobson.
yeah.
So
And you
Andrew had
needing three
a
points. Yeah.
Yep, I needed 3 points. That's key. So he had an armored rifle force with a couple of armored rifle platoons, 4 Lees, 4 Shermans. He had airplanes and universal carriers, T-30s, the usual American
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff. So Andrew deployed first. We ended up. I had maneuver and he had defend, and so we had cornered as a mission.
Hmm.
Now, um, the board that we had, it couldn't have been better for him in cornered, because he had a nice wide deployment zone with fields in it, and then in a semicircle around it were forests that were exactly one minefield apart.
Oh, nice.
And so he was able to set up covering all the gaps in the forest. And then he pushed out with his scout platoon and set up his armored rifles to block the other side of the table And so I knew getting to the objective was going to be a real challenge for me.
Four pluses,
And
four pluses.
4 pluses, it's not easy. Um, but saying that, I didn't need to take the objective. I needed to get 3 points.
Yeah, that is a
So
very important lesson, right?
yeah,
Remember that.
so I set up to do that. Andrew started with his half tracks on the table. And so that was one place I could get points. He had universal carriers on the table as well to start with. So I set up first turn to go for the half track platoon and the universal carrier platoon, knowing that if he deployed his ambush, he would probably take out a unit of Lees really quickly and easily. So I first turn, I killed 4 out of the 5 half tracks, put them on a last stand check, and I killed 2 out of the 3 universal carriers. So
Another
2 units
last
on a
time.
5 up last stand check. Mission accomplished there on the first turn. But he did, in fact, deploy his Lees, kill my unit of Lees, and put smoke down so that
You couldn't
I
shoot back.
couldn't repay
Yeah,
the favor.
yeah.
And so I did put smoke down right behind his smoke. I moved all my tanks up, ready for the smoke to disappear. And next turn, he moved his bazookas up and tried to whittle my numbers down a little bit and pushed his Lees up to shoot through the smoke. But I had enough shots to take out that unit of Lees, and that was my 3rd point. We continued to play the game on. We got to turn 6. I couldn't get within 8 inches of the objective, and so it was a 6-3 win for Andrew. But that gave me 5 wins and 1 loss for the tournament. I don't think well, I think Andrew had 5 wins as well, and enough to take the overall win. So
Nice. Well, congratulations.
yeah, thank you.
And thank you for taking us through your games and telling us a little about US Masters. I have one last question. So, after playing all these games with the Lees and US Masters on your list, did you learn anything? Like, did something come unexpected? Did you like think maybe I should adjust this for the next time, so I could play like this the next time? Did you anything
Yeah,
new?
I mean, I learned that forests are really bad for leaves. That's a very important learning. I need some way to mitigate that in the future. Pack 40s were harder to kill than I expected,
Yeah.
especially
They
hit
have
on 4.
they have a 3-up save, right?
They have a 3 up
Yeah.
save,
Yeah.
yeah. So even in my first game, I had 2 artillery batteries ranged in, repeat bombardments, plus 2 units of Lees shooting direct fire at them, and it still took 3 or 4 turns to kill them all. So that was a surprise, not a good one.
No.
In that, um, and I didn't expect that armored rifles would be as good as they were. The armored rifles moving up with bazookas were able to take a lot of Lees out.
Yeah, because all of a
Fail
sudden
them.
you need a 4+ save to equal. No, it's a 5+ to equal.
A 5+ to equal, yeah.
Yeah.
So and even if you do equal, they're going to assault the tank
Yeah, yeah,
right
yeah,
away,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's game over. So
yeah.
yeah. Also the Warhawks, the U.S. planes,
Yeah.
they came in on 2 turns, and each turn they wiped out an artillery unit. So one turn he wiped out my mortars, one turn he wiped out my T-30s, and
Using
so
his 50 cals.
using the 50
Yeah,
cals,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
So that was a lot worse than a lot deadlier than I expected as well. So
yeah.
um,
They're not that expensive, right?
they're
They're only
not,
6 points for a unit of 2. Yeah,
yeah.
nice. Well, thank you, Keith, and I hope to hear again next year about how you won the US Masters 2025.
Oh, it's that's a tall order.
Yeah,
It's always a tough tournament to win. The
yeah,
twist always throws things off. It worked in my favor this year. I was able to get the matchups that I wanted in terms of
yeah,
stances,
yeah.
and never had to bring the infantry off my army tray. So
Okay.
that was a win for
So
me.
that was a success. You planned for that.
Yeah.
Do we know where it's going to be held in 2025?
No,
Nope,
not yet.
not yet. Okay. So, and as you said, 6 weeks before to get the twists. So you're just gonna play some tournaments and see how it goes.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the one thing I do know is, as the winner this year, I've already got my invite for
Oh
next year.
yeah.
So,
So you don't have to fly across USA to pick up points. You can just
yep.
relax and
Yeah, I
okay,
can
cool.
play fun lists the rest of the year and
Yeah.
still
Well, I
get there.
expect you're gonna play tournaments and Flames of War anyway, because
Yes,
you're not playing it to join Masters. You play it because you love it, right? So
exactly.
okay, cool. Well, thank you again, and I wish you all the best of luck in 2025, and let's see
Yeah.
how it goes. Yeah,
Thanks, Soren.
yeah. Bye.